Previously on Oh Look. So my girlfriend and I celebrated our anniversary recently. The game I got her was Animal Crossing New Horizons. And now, the conclusion. I got Breath of the Wild. Now when it comes to other Zelda games, Ocarina of Time is often heralded as the greatest video game of all time, and when I finished it, all I can say is, yeah. Now Majora's Mask is my favorite game of all time. That's all I'm gonna say for now because I can spend a whole video talking about this game, and hopefully if Nintendo's still in a re-releasing mood, I'll get that chance. Now I think Wind Waker is very overrated. Now listen, it has a Zelda charm, the best combat, and amazing dungeons, but seriously, all that sailing though. Fucking love Twilight Princess, an awesome T-rated dark and gritty direction for the series until it dropped back down to E and we arrive at Breath of the Wild. Also, Merry Christmas. We start with Link waking up in a tub, which is usually how I start my Mondays, and yes, he's actually named Link as the tradition of naming him is gone. I'm not complaining, I've never really been original with names. We also receive the Sheikah Slate, which is a sort of tablet, and head out of the cave. We see Hyrule being attacked by, I'm guessing, the smoke monster from Lost until we run into this old hooded man who tells us to climb a tower, and after that, he tells us to look for these shrines. After obtaining the power of explosives, magnesium, ice, and time manipulation, he reveals that he is the deceased king of Hyrule and that the smoke monster is Calamity Ganon. He gives us a parasail that we can use to fly around and travel to the massive overworld easier. We arrive at Kakariko Village and meet Impa, who fills in the gaps. Basically, Link and Zelda went to fight Calamity Ganon, but Link was gravely injured and put to recover in the bathtub from earlier. It's been 100 years later, and Ganon still wages chaos, and Link gets to meet much older friends and hear about the demise of a few others. Hey, that's pretty familiar. Anyway, Impa sends us on a quest to master the 4 elements, free the 4 divine beasts that can help stop Ganon and also recover Link's memory. Oh look, the game has voiceovers. That's probably why we can't name Link. Now Breath of the Wild doesn't follow the traditional Zelda formula, starting with a wooden shield and weak sword, until you work up towards a Hylian shield and the Master Sword. As you trek this massive overworld, you're picking up materials as you go along, whether it's plants or food for health, or weapons and shields. Now I wouldn't have an issue with weak weapons doing barely any damage to enemies. My issue is not only do they barely do any damage, but they also break in literally no time. And yes, it gets annoying being in a fight as your weapon breaks, so you equip another weapon, but that also has the strength of a f***ing toothpick and breaks as well. What else doesn't help is that Link suddenly has the durability of a f***ing marshmallow. Seriously, this dude can't take a hit to save his life. No wonder he was gravely injured. He'd probably react to a leaf falling on his head like it's a f***ing gunshot. Now I know the solution to this problem, sir, that's what armor is for. Well yeah, I tried to get armor, but I can't afford it because armor would cost me an arm and a leg. Well, an alternative is amiibos, which grant bonus armor, but I was really hoping I wouldn't have to take this out of the box, but one too many Game Over screens left me feeling a bit salty. Now when it comes to amiibos to get armors, you can only use them once a day, and they don't even guarantee that you'll get what you're looking for. Eventually it becomes annoying waiting a whole day just to open another box that has fire arrows. It took me a few days to finally get a piece of armor, but getting another piece was hard to come by. No worries though, I found a solution. Just save the game before you use the amiibo, and if you don't like what you got, you can load your last save and try again. I just wish I didn't start utilizing this trick near the end of the game. Oh, by the way, the armor doesn't do jack shit. Hooray, I finally reached a dungeon. Now dungeons in the Zelda series are the main attraction, but here they are a bit weak. Not really complex massive dungeons with multiple rooms, but more like massive rooms with a few puzzles where you need to find 5 terminals and then do a boss battle. Of the Zelda games I've played, these have got to be the worst dungeons. There are only 4 of them for the 4 divine beasts, and they are all the same aesthetic wise, with the only difference being the dungeon's mechanic, whether it's moving a trunk spouting water or rotating the temple. So what do I think of Breath of the Wild? I actually like it a lot. Yeah, I know I spent the last 3 minutes railing on it, but my main issue when people throw so much praise at a game as if it's flawless but don't dwell on the fact that it has massive issues. Link has as much durability as the Blob with little to no room for error. Weapons and shields breaking is not an interesting gameplay mechanic because having to pause a fight every few seconds to replace a weapon is not fun. The temples are extremely underwhelming and chore, which I guess is due to these many shrines spread throughout the map which act like mini dungeons, and completing them gets you spirit orbs that you can trade in 4 of them to get either increased health or stamina. Also, these shrines act as warp points, and thank God for these because this map is massive, which is another issue I have. And listen, I get it, it's fun to be able to explore a massive world freely, but goddamn does the distance between Zora's Domain and Goron City have to be the size of f***ing Neptune. I like the climbing in this game. Link now has the ability to climb most surfaces, and scaling some of these mountains and gliding the distance is a satisfying way to get around. Also, the charm in this game is amazing, and probably the main reason I kept coming back. But the biggest crime in Breath of the Wild is the lack of a soundtrack. Most of the time you'll be hearing ambiance, and if the game wants to spice things up, it'll throw a little piano or woodwinds down our way. And yeah, the occasional tune will pop up, but most of the time we're running around listening to nothing. And sure, an overworld theme playing over and over would drive people insane, but you know, a shorter overworld isn't a bad idea either. But the Zelda games have had some of the most legendary OSTs in the world. Hyrule Field from Twilight Princess, Dragon Roost from Wind Waker, Clock Town from Majora's Mask, anything from Ocarina of Time are just to name a few. But one of the absolute best has got to be Gerudo Valley from Ocarina of Time. That song is my absolute jam. I love it so much that I even learned how to play it. I really didn't learn how to play it.